Hey everybody, it's Marvin Ambrosius here, and yes, I did say I was going to do a video about COVID-19 and my experience with it. Funny enough, I was very hesitant to do so at first, and that was just based off of the fact that when I went onto the BBC Radio London show with Judy Love, she asked me how I was doing, and my first thoughts was to say, yeah, I'm doing fine, and just get on with the interview, talk about things relating to fitness, the new year. And then I'd realized that this is the first time in history that every single human being on this planet is in the same boat in regards to catching, basically catching COVID-19, and something that can actually change your life and unfortunately end your life. It's one of those things where I was not expecting to even contract the virus. I got to the point where I was really careful, really safe, making sure I stayed within my bubble with my family, not meeting any outside people. I did everything you're supposed to do in regards to not getting COVID. So I felt that I needed to say something about it. So I mentioned and touched on it on the show, but I felt that just for the rest of the world out there and anybody who would watch, just to know that what it's like to be fit with COVID. Because in terms of physical fitness and where I was when I contracted the virus, I was up there. I was fine. In terms of the tests I give myself as a fitness trainer, I was pretty much on top of my game. I'd made sure that I was happy within myself and doing what I'm doing and everything's good. But unfortunately, catching the virus, I actually got it from my son, who was in his own school bubble. And what had happened was he'd had a school concert. This is where we think we got it from. And we were obviously at home watching it on television. So he's come back home now. And a week, maybe I think it's 8 to 10 days later, which ended up being on Christmas night, my wife, my son, and my daughter all said they weren't feeling too well. Now, with them saying they're not feeling too well, I said, oh, I actually feel fine. I don't have anything wrong. I feel good. So I was like, yeah, this is fine. I'm sure it's not COVID. So we went to a testing center in Sevenoaks, which was about 15 minutes from us, and went down there and did the test. And that night, after doing the test, I felt ill very badly. It was pretty immediate. It was quite scary, actually, to how I went from up here straight down there. Had a temperature, 105, between 105 and 107. It was crazy. I was just stuck. I had literally no energy whatsoever to barely go to the bathroom. It was so instantaneous. And then the next day, the test results came back and we all had COVID. And it was one of those moments where you look into it and you go, all right, I've got COVID. What do we need to do? And we just had paracetamol. I had loads of wet freezing cold flannels because my temperature got out of control to the point where I was just boiling up. Now, to give you guys a bit more understanding of how every one of us individually, we all had a different experience. We had similar symptoms and everything. All of us lost our taste and our smell, except for my daughter. One day, I think 1 hour, my daughter was sick and she was fine. So my son, he was just in his room, in his bed, and he couldn't get up. So he had no energy whatsoever, had a small temperature. It wasn't crazy. And that was about 3 to 4 days he felt like that, and he lost his taste, lost his sense of smell. And he didn't really have muscular pain, which is something I'm going to touch on now. Now, my wife, she automatically just felt like she had no energy. She just didn't feel right within herself. I was at a stage where I just felt like I had no energy, but the weirdest thing was this muscle pain that I've never felt before in my life. I could feel every single muscle in my body aching. Like, we're not talking DOMs aching after a workout. We're talking like an ache and a pain where you want to scratch it and itch it out of your body because it's so irritating. And it was so bad, it stopped me from sleeping, because wherever I moved or whatever movement I did in bed, I couldn't sleep. So we're talking sleep loss, like completely nothing going on for about 2 to 3 nights. I did not sleep at all because I was just in so much pain. And on top of that as well, the headaches. So you've got really bad migraines, a temperature, and this muscular pain. the combination of all these three, yes, I know a lot of people suffered and a lot of people have felt even more than this. So to me, someone's told me this is mild compared to what they were going through, because on top of that, other people cough and have bad coughs. I hadn't developed a cough yet. So that's leading me on to my 5th day of COVID. So all in all through this, my wife's feeling the same as me. She doesn't have the muscular pain. She's got some joint pain and is tired, but she doesn't have the same pains as me. And she's not getting the fevers that I'm getting. She's not, so she's got all the other symptoms, but without the fever. And then it goes to the point of where I start coughing and I'm having shortness of breath. Now, I'm cardiovascular king. Like I do cardio all the time. It takes a long time for me to be to get to need that deep breath. But I got to a point where walking from A to B, being from the bed to the bathroom, which is less than probably 15 steps away, that felt like I ran a marathon. I was out of breath. I'd be sitting there. I had to do the sit down in the toilet just to go for a pee because I couldn't stand up. So I'm at a stage where I'm exhausted, I'm out of breath, I'm constantly having shortnesses of breath, worried about getting long COVID. So I start to worry about all these things, thinking about one of my really good friends that passed away. I'm starting to really get dark thoughts now, like things where I'm like, this is not nice. I don't like where I'm going. And I'd realized at this point, luckily, my wife started feeling a little better than me. Not a lot, just a little better than me. Meaning that we could have someone that was force feeding us. So my wife cracked into gear and just said, all right, I'm going to try and get up. I'm going to do stuff. So she started cooking again. She started making sure we were eating at least what we could eat twice a day. And that started building up a little bit of energy. I didn't feel any different during the time. No matter what paracetamols or whatever I had to get rid of my headaches, to get rid of my fever, nothing I can honestly say to you helped me in the first 5 to 7 days. Now, during that time, my wife started to pick up after about 7 days into feeling a lot better. I still was probably about 35%. I was at a wit's end. I'm like, what's gonna happen? I am not too sure where this is going next. Is it going to develop into something worse? Am I going to get a cough that's going to end up making my lungs go? I started thinking all kinds of stuff. But then what I decided to do is just start to relax and focus and being a positive way of thinking. So I changed my frame of thinking and said, do you know what? Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. I have no control over what's happening in my body right now, but what I do have control with is doing research and understanding what I can do to help my body fight the virus. Because that's what you got to understand is when you're sick from COVID, it's not COVID's making you sick, it's your body fighting against COVID. That's what's happening. Your body is in a battle. But the problem is sometimes your body is in a losing battle. So I just did some research. Spoke to a really good friend as well, Leo Marshall, who's head of sports and science at LSPU. He gave me some really great tips. I'll put some links in the description of things he told me to get and things to do to help just build my immune system. And one of the main key points as well, what you need to do now, especially for anyone with melanin in their skin like us and myself being black, is vitamin D tablets. That was a big help. The vitamin D and the vitamin C and B12, those things actually did give me a bit of a boost because I'm not getting any sun, because I'm not going outside. I'm literally stripped of a life that I'd once had where naturally these things would be pushed into me without me having to take the pills because I'd never needed to have that before. And developing a vitamin D deficiency is a result of not being outside or going out and being as social as we've been. So not only that, having COVID, already there's parts of our bodies where things are down. Things are not working to the best of the ability of what your body is usually doing in its functionality. So I was just at a point where, like I said, I needed to come and talk to you guys and just let you know how I felt and what it felt like to have COVID. It's now 17 days since the first day of having it. Now, I would love to tell you right now that I feel 100% better. The truth of the matter is I'm at about 65%. I am nowhere near the version of myself of the day I got COVID to where I am now. I still feel shortness of breath. I still get a bit tired. My body sometimes feels like it's got spurts of energy, and then next thing you know, I'm on the couch and I need to lay down. Now, this is a new concept to me as a person. Like, that's not Marv. That's not what I do. Like, I'm energy, energy, energy. And I can only take the energy spurts when I get them, and I'm not getting them as much as I would like to. I'm hoping over time that I will revert back to my former self. But for now, I have a new routine that I need to make up to work for my body and make sure that I can stay healthy. And everybody else, we all need to do the same. And I think if anybody does see this video or want to drop any comments or ask any questions, I'm happy to ask anything that I haven't detailed in my experience and my family's experience with COVID. But I did feel that I think it's something everyone should know. We hear so much things from so many people, but the most important thing is to understand that it's something that we could all possibly end up going through and not be able to prevent having it. So if you're gonna get it, make sure, if you do, loads of water. Drink as much, but sorry, let me revert that. Not loads of water. Have about 1.5 liters, because too much water actually didn't work for me in the first couple of days. And I did read an article about having just 1.5 liters of water, because remember, your body's mostly made up of water. And the problem is, you're not doing any activity, you're not doing anything at all. So you literally are not burning any calories. Your body naturally burns your BMR, your basic metabolic rate, is your body naturally burns a certain amount of calories a day. But when you're not doing anything, unfortunately, you're storing. And water for me, it was just pee. I was just constantly going for pees, which is great. It's getting out of your body. But at one point I couldn't pee. So it's a case of just working how that works. Another thing as well, if you get a really bad temperature, cold flannel, try and bring the temperature down. Keep monitoring your temperature every 20 minutes to half an hour to see if it goes down. And that's when mine wasn't going down. And when it did, it started to stay down. So it's a case of just monitoring that as well. Try and force yourself, even when you don't have any energy, just to take some steps. Even if it's sometimes I'd walk across my living room to my kitchen and back to the couch. And that was just to try and see what energy stores I had, see what I could and couldn't do, see how I felt within myself, and just try and push yourself out of that cycle. Because trust me, every day, you don't even know what day it is at some point. So when you get into the 3rd, 4th day, it's Groundhog Day at that point. I couldn't tell you what was going on. So I hope a little bit of this information helps anybody listening, and I hope this is something that you can take on to help you from not getting COVID. And if you do get COVID, these words of affirmation can help you in your journey in getting better. I wish everybody during this pandemic and this crazy time in history, which I still can't believe is going on now, but we're here together as one. But the only way to get there is together. So if we have to work together to fight it, we got to work together to get out of it. And I can't wait to hang out with you guys at some point outside in the real world again, and not just be here virtually. But thank you so much for listening. And again, like I said, you can hit me up and DM me, hit me at Marvin Ambrosius on Instagram, and all my YouTube channel as well at Marvin Ambrosius, Fit in 5 Live. Come to it, guys. It's about staying fit and healthy. And whilst you're at home, it's all about doing what you can to survive in yourself. Because it is a game. Life is a game of survival. And now we have certain tips and certain things to help us to where we can get better. And hopefully these things will help you. So thank you.